before we continue, there's a certain price change involving the shipping, and the reaction to it was very different compared to every other time that the shipping price was changed. And even then, I want to go into a little bit more detail about the shipping itself, as it's been a heavy point of criticism over the past couple years. As tradition at this point, the shipping has increased in price. At the beginning, it was free, but then changed to $5, then eventually to $7. And that's where it was during my second conversation, but literally just a month after the video was released, in April of 2025, the shipping was changed again, from $7 to $9. So why did this happen? Well, fans pointed to a specific reason of something that was happening in the real world that may have offered an explanation: tariffs. A tax imposed on imported items, which increases the cost of bringing products from one country to another. And around early 2025, a big tariff war, I guess, was happening between countries. To make a very long and complicated story short, basically, the United States increased tariffs on imports from several countries, with large increases on items from China. China responded by raising tariffs on US imports, leading to a back and forth escalation between the two countries, increasing the tariffs on each other, with them going pretty dramatically high. This entire fiasco was going on so quickly that businesses didn't really know how to react, as some, like the company Cool Shirts, just stopped shipping items to America, at least for the time being. So what was Youtooz's response to this entire thing? Well, publicly speaking, Austin spoke about tariffs on the Youtooz Discord, as his responses reassured fans that nothing bad is going to happen to any pre-existing orders. Quote, "It's tough to give a statement right now, since it changes daily, even hourly, lol. But as it stands, if a delivery arrives today, for example, the duty is already paid, by us. Quote, we ship everything DDP, which means we prepay tariffs. Although, given how close the events of the tariff war of 2025 and the change of shipping price, many have pointed to it being the reason. But this wouldn't last for long. As the tariff war began to calm down and negotiations were going on in the background, Youtooz for a short period had changed their shipping price back to $7, only to switch it back and is currently at $9. But why? Well, tariffs, while they're not anywhere near as bad as they were at their peak, it's still not the same as they were before. In fact, in my questions to Austin, he mentioned that the tariffs were one of the many obstacles that the company had to juggle with. With all that said, the audience were upset about prices being raised, but they were at least a lot more understanding of the circumstances, as this was quite literally out of Youtooz's control. Youtooz increasing the prices isn't really new, and honestly, given how everything in the world has been increasing in prices, I'm not really all that surprised. But people do have a lot more problems with the shipping than just the price, since most of Youtooz's products are under a pre-order. This means they have to wait for months just for their products to come in. And I'm also not necessarily the biggest fan of this either, but let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. I understand that with Youtooz, having products be pre-orders just works. With the timers, and not over or underproducing units, then shipping the products a few months later, it's a great and easy functioning system. And even then, Youtooz isn't necessarily the only company with this pre-order model, like Glitch Productions. If anything, as pointed out by Austin, Youtooz probably have some of the best turnaround times with pre-orders. Quote, if you look at the overall toy industry, especially in the premium market, i.e. Chinese imported toys, art toys, statues, etc., 1 to 2 year long pre-order periods are very common. Our average is much lower. He also further elaborated on why the shipping takes so long. Quote, our pre-order model allows us to support IP owners and content partners with some of the fastest turnaround times in the industry, from initial design to customer delivery. Our products are also designed by humans, and have a lot of handmade components, so there are limits to how fast we can move without impacting quality. Similarly, compared to other direct-to-consumer vinyl and plushie companies, our shipping costs are significantly lower. For example, a 9-inch Youtooz plushie costs $29.99 plus $9 shipping to my home, while comparable products from competitors typically total $40 to $42, or more for a similar sized item. We do also partner with local retailers like Hot Topic, Spencer's, or FYE, alongside Amazon to offer options that may not require shipping. So yes, I understand why the shipping is the way it is, but I still have several issues with it. First, I think Youtooz are releasing way too many products to keep up with. If they want to release like 20 products in a week, that's their decision. The problem is that when you have that many products in production at once, things are bound to get backed up. Obviously, I don't know how everything works behind the scenes, so maybe their production model works fine, but the problem is that when you have so many things to work on, the newer products are going to have to ship out way later to produce the backlog of products first, which means they may have an estimated shipping window of 6 months away. For the average customer, seeing a product listed with a shipping window like that can be pretty discouraging, which then leads to my second issue, delays. The problem isn't that delays happen, as I think we can all understand that, hey, shit happens, but it's the lack of communication. Back when Youtooz first started, customers who ordered the delayed products would at least get an email informing them about it, and also came with a discount code, as some sort of compensation for the inconvenience. At the very least, customers were acknowledged. But nowadays, from what I can tell, you often don't even get an email telling you that your order was delayed. That just doesn't sit right with me. Especially with how communicative and open-minded they are with everything else, this is the one and arguably the most important area where they drop the ball. If you tell customers that a product is expected to ship during a certain time frame, and it doesn't, the bare minimum should be an email explaining the delay. Even a small gesture like a discount code would go a long way. I'm genuinely not trying to be rude here, and maybe I'm missing something here. If anything, throughout all my coverage of Youtooz, I've tried to be as fair and understanding as possible, but the shipping is becoming increasingly difficult to defend. It feels unnecessarily complicated, and I think it really needs to be updated in some sort of way. Austin himself explained that they're, quote, always looking for ways to increase our speed, manage costs, and improve the overall customer experience. They've done a great job at listening to criticism before. So I really hope that with this section, Youtooz could listen, and eventually improve the shipping experience. Because as it stands, buying from the website has become increasingly difficult for me at least. And I think many others also feel the same way. Obviously, I'm not Mr. I know everything, so who knows, maybe nothing can change, but let's just hope for the best.
Wow, you actually criticized them. Maybe there is some hope for you after all.
You know he can give them shit, and also still like them.
I think talking to both of you was a bad idea.